Hello and welcome back to Habits and Health Span, an Amway podcast. We're so glad that you're joining us today once again to learn about all things health span. My name is Alyssa. I'm glad to be with you today and glad to be joined as always by John, my co-host. John, it's good to see you.
Always good to see you, Alyssa. You know, we're talking today about bone and joint health, and we have an incredible guest that we're going to get to in just a minute. But I gotta ask, have you ever broken a bone before?
I have broken 0 bones.
0 bones.
Yeah.
Perfect score.
Sure, let's go with that.
You've got me beat.
Okay. I feel like there might be a story to go with this.
There is. I made it through all of my childhood without breaking a bone until I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
We were going sledding. Hey, we used to do this when we were kids, and I don't remember when it happened, but I got home and my finger was kind of hurting me. And I'm just stretching it, trying to pop it into place, feeling like I had dislocated or something. After a couple of days, we go to the doctor, get the x-ray, and he goes, it was this bone right up here, this very top of my middle finger on my right hand. And he said, if that slid at all, we wouldn't be putting your finger into a cast, we'd be taking the top of your finger off.
Oh, no.
So I just went, well, thank goodness that didn't happen.
Right.
So I got the cast on my finger. I got my friends to sign it, which was very fun for me because I never had that before.
The cast was what, like an inch?
It was so tiny.
It
was so tiny. So that's my bone breaking story.
Okay, well, you have more broken bones than I did. So.
All right, I guess I win.
We are excited to hear more from our guest today who is going to talk to us about these things, bone health, joint health. We have with us Charles Hu. He is a principal scientist in nutrition and clinical investigation at Amway. Welcome.
Hi, Alyssa and John.
Charles, we'd love to hear a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, actually, I do quite a bit of research here in Amway. I've been in Amway about 15 years. By the end of this year, my primary role is actually working on to identify raw materials that working for the different aspect for the nutrition and health benefit area that we are looking for. Bone actually is one of the area that I'm working with my other team members. In addition to that one, I'm also working on something like healthy aging, sleep, stress, and this is just some of those projects I'm currently working on.
So let's just start broad picture here. Why should we be caring about our bone and joint health? I mean, even as I ask it, I go, it's our bone and joints, but I'd love to get into the science of it all.
I think the bone is a very important part of your body, actually hold your muscle and whole body together. Where in between the bone, actually, you're not going to have a bone direct contact to the bone. You have a joint. The joint actually make your system move flexible and allow you to move freely, where you're not going to like a puppet that not easy to move around, look like a clown, something. For your skeletal system, you do need to have the bone, joint, and also muscle. All these three together help you to move around in a way that our body designs to be.
It makes me just think about as we're getting older, health span isn't just about the years in your life, but the life in your years. And so much of that has to do with mobility.
That's correct. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, particularly for the older population, that mobility is one of the biggest concern. Because when we're getting old, we definitely know that our bone density gets lower and lower. Our bone density actually got the highest when we were like 20, 25 years age, and they start to see the decline. And particularly for people that above age of 50, the bone density starts to see decline much more stronger. This is particularly important for women when they hit the menopause age. The bone density decline getting much more worse than men. So, but when both men and women getting to the 60s, 70s, I think that is very common that your bone density is getting lower and lower. And in the same time, we also see a lot of older population, they have suffered from the mobility issues, and a lot of time they are instabilities to move around, and also a lot of time we see older grandparents, grandma, it's easy to fall, and also cause of much more easy to fracture compared to younger age, compared to when you're in junior high. I think that in the older age, I think that will be much more severe than what you experienced when you were junior high.
So I mentioned at the top of the episode about how I broke my finger. I'm so curious, how did my bone repair itself? What's going on inside when that sort of thing happens?
bone is a living organ or living structure. So you always have your bone formation, but in the same time, you're always losing some bone structure or bone materials. So that is always be a dynamic that, particularly for the younger age, your bone grow much more stronger, faster than your bone loss. But when you pass that peak time, the bone loss is getting faster than your bone formation. So that's why before you hit that 30 years of age, you always have a much more strong bone formation. But after you pass, you still the bone depletions is outpaced the bone formation. So that's why when you're younger, you recover from a bone fracture the bone is much more faster than you're getting old. Because getting old I think the healing process gets much more slower.
I'm curious, is there a difference when we talk about, you just talked about what's going on with our bones when they heal. Is there a difference in what happens with our joints, or are they so connected that it's one and the same?
I think there's to a certain extent that they're very similar. It's not exactly the same because for the joint, it goes to the similar approach. But for the joint, it's different kind of cells, but it still have to grow and repair. And in the same time, because the joint is also you know that there's a lot of friction going to happen when you bone move around. So that also means there's a lot of fluid inside the joint cast. So that you want to keep that joint fluid stable, and also you want to keep that cushion, which is the cartilage on the top of the bone. That part actually provides you some kind of a cushion function, so that you're not going to have a direct bone-to-bone friction, so that you can make your bone rather stable, and also your movement much more smooth.
I have to take advantage of this time while you're here, Charles, because I have a couple things I'm curious about. I've always heard, and I want to know if they're true. The first one pertains to bones. Drinking milk gives you stronger bones. Drink lots of milk, kids. That's at least what I heard when I was growing up. Other being, hey, don't crack your knuckles, causes arthritis. What do you have to say about some of these myths that we're hearing about bone health and joint health?
Actually, I think that is actually very interesting myth. Actually, I have to say that milk does contain a lot of calcium, because you know that calcium actually deposits largely of the calcium actually deposit into the bone. So that actually drink a good amount of milk actually help you to grow the bone, particularly for the children. But actually, knuckle, I don't feel actually that's true, because there's no study actually show that just knock your knuckle that's going to cause the osteoarthritis. No, I don't think there's any kind of connection there.
Okay, I love it. Thanks for clearing those two up. Are there any other myths or misconceptions beyond those that people might have about their joints and bones, especially as they're aging?
I think a lot of people thinking that aging, that you should not do much of exercise. Actually, do exercise is always a good thing to do to keep not only keep your cardiovascular health, but also to keep your bone health. Because when you do exercise, your bone experience some kind of a stress. Actually, that's going to stimulate some bone formation, and also helps you to be able to handle in some kind of a stress condition that also prevents you from some kind of injury. But of course, that you do when you're aging, make sure that you do exercise in a proper way. Don't do too much. Don't stress too much yourself. Just to do appropriate amount. And also for the people that also thinking that I'm too old to do any exercise, right? But actually, that is not true, because any exercise, even just a minor, just to move around, jump upside down from your chair, I think that would be actually helpful for you to handling the day-to-day stress, and also maintain your health and function.
So what I'm really hearing as you're speaking is that exercise that's putting the right amount of stress can strengthen your bones. Not too much, but not avoiding that altogether. And that can really lead to some bone health.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, just to give yourself a little bit of stress, it's actually also stimulate a lot of bone formation, joint health, and also help you to handling all the day-to-day activities. So I think a little bit of stress is a good thing, but just don't take it too much.
That's great. I also hear you say that it's never too late to start, right? You talked about as we get older, we think, well, I can't start that now because I haven't started it before, perhaps, or maybe it's too late. But it sounds like you're saying that is not true.
Yeah, it's not true. Any age actually can start to do some exercise. Exercise is also a good lifestyle, life habit. I think it's always never be too late. As long as you start something, I think it's always is good for your health.
One thing that we talk about a lot on this podcast that comes up over and over again is whenever we're talking about exercise, diet and nutrition follows next. So I'd love to hear your take on what nutrition should we be looking at for bone health and joint health? You mentioned calcium earlier. Is there anything else we should be thinking about?
Yeah, besides calcium, magnesium is also very important. Phosphorus is also important. And of course, that sunshine vitamin D is also very critical these days for maintaining the health, the bone health, because vitamin D actually helps the absorption of calcium. So without a proper amount of calcium, your body won't be able to absorb the calcium that you drink from your milk or from some other fortified food or some kind of supplement contains calcium. Another one that you probably also want to make sure that you take, particularly older age, maybe some vitamin K2, because vitamin K2 is also very critical these days to help the absorption of calcium as well.
So vitamin K2 is better for some older folks. And then what about joints specifically?
I think for joint, I think a lot of time that we take glucosamine, because for example, glucosamine actually is just like a building block for the cartilage. A lot of time that we take something like turmeric, for example. Turmeric is very well known these days. It's not only just a spice, but also very helpful. And beyond that, when taking something like regular taking some omega-3 fatty acid, that's coming from fatty fish, also coming from omega-3 supplement. Also taking a good amount of protein, I think that's also be helpful for the bone and the joint, along with something like living a diet with a lot of fruit vegetable, particularly for the green leafy vegetable. That is also contain good amount of vitamin K and also contains good amount of magnesium as well.
That's a good list.
Yeah, that's a long list, yes.
A lot of foods in there that make these vitamins and necessary things for bones and joint health pretty accessible. Of those that you listed, are any of them not available in foods?
So a lot of time, actually, you probably won't be able to get enough nutrient that your body is supposed to get. In Amway, I think we have a study probably done quite some time ago that also indicate that around the world, not only just United States, but also rest of the world, probably only like 10% of population actually they get their fruit and vegetable at the right amount that World Health Organization recommended. Because actually our report was done 10 years ago. I just checked our CDC report, I think published last year. We still stay the same. It's about 10% of population. Only 10% of the population get enough amount of fruit and vegetable. So that actually indicates that we're still living in a stage that for the calorie, you probably get enough, but for actually a lot of the nutrient, particularly for the fruit and vegetable source of nutrient, some vitamin, mineral, dietary fiber, we are really lack of those kind of materials. So that also give us, that's pretty alarming for a lot of people.
That is remarkable that amount of people aren't getting the right amount of fruits and vegetables.
So important. I'm curious as well. We've talked about diet. We've talked about exercise. Are there any other lifestyle habits that are actively contributing to our bone and joint health or lack thereof? I know just as I'm sitting here, I'm going, oh man, I think maybe my posture is impacting my backbones here.
You're spot on, because actually good posture, I think, is very important. So that also reminds me I should stand up.
Me too.
We all straighten up real quick, okay?
So I think that is very important, but in the same time that not only just the posture, but also just once you're working for a certain period of time, maybe just to move around, just maybe give yourself like a 10 minutes, even like a 2 minutes of break. So that just do a little bit of stretch. The stretch is also help build upon your bone and joint, and also probably just a good lifestyle.
I'm wondering if we could go back to posture for just a minute, because I'm unclear as to how having good posture, like I know that's something my mom always told me to do, but how does that actually help my bones and my joint health? Just sitting up straighter is better because
I think that's you can look into the several ways, because in your for the good pasture actually really good for the spine, because when you're thinking about spine, then you have a lot of because your spine built into one block after one block, and also there's a lot of disc in between, and a lot of time when you keep a wrong pasture, that also those kind of discs getting compact. So you want to loosen them up to make sure that you have some kind of flexibility in between. So once you do a little bit better posture, I think that actually can keep your posture, your body straight, your spine goes straight rather than in a twisted way. A lot of time that you see people just keeping the bad habit ongoing, then your whole body figure may change.
Got it. So it's good for your spine because it releases some of the tension that's in the discs sometimes. But then also, if it's a bad posture habit, that over time can lead to perhaps a different shape.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right.
Great. Thank you. I know. So let's stretch out. Let's straighten up. That's really great.
You mentioned earlier rest. I know how important that is when we're talking about our muscle health and making sure we have enough time to rest there. Does rest play a significant role with our bone health as we're exercising, playing sports?
Yeah, because the rest is always be part of your life, your routine. Because you have to rest yourself, regardless for the muscle, for the joint, for the bone. You have to have a good amount of rest. You have to keep your right amount of sleep every day. A good sleep every 24 hours. For the children, I think it's a little bit longer. But for an older population, the sleep amount probably going to be a little bit shorter. But in general, 6 to 8 hours for an older population is very much required. So actually, if you have a good amount of rest during the night, actually that's going to be very helpful for everything else, because you can be much more functional for your brain. You can also be very functional to do more exercise. Your productivity also improved, and also make yourself happy, less stress.
Yeah, speaking of sports, I have 3 kids and I watch them play and do sports in a way that I certainly no longer can do. But I'm wondering, like, since you already mentioned before, like when you're younger, your bones will heal faster and your joints they're perhaps a little bit more flexible. When kids are doing perhaps high impact sports or really intense playing and maybe they're being reckless or whatever, if they hurt themselves, is there anything that you would say in regards to children about the impact of their activity levels or things that are good for them to keep in mind, or me as a mom to sort of think like, this play is good, but be careful, or you know what, you're good, play on?
Yeah, I think being a parent, I think always children's safety is always be our high priority. I think that as long as you see that they can recover, and you see that the activity they do is not as dangerous as it is, or something that you feel that you can handle it, I think that is normally in the appropriate amount. But I think for children, I think doing the sports is always a good thing. Not only that to let children to build upon the healthy lifestyle in the early age, which can last for the rest of their life, but also helps them to build the teamwork. That also be a important life skill that can be beneficial in their adult life as well. So I think it's just let children play the sports. I think that's very important part of the children. And also, because children, as I mentioned earlier, children they recover from the injury much more faster than adult, so they will get back to the healthy sooner or later, as long as they know that they have the sense to protect themselves. Don't do something stupid.
It's a great answer. Thank you.
All right, so with that, Charles, we're coming to our last question, which, as you know, Alyssa, is always one of my favorites. Podcast is called Habits in Health Span. So, Charles, we like to leave out by asking you, what is one habit that our listeners at home can immediately apply into their life? Something practical out of all of the great education you've given us today.
Yeah, I think it's do some exercises. I think, for example, do some kind of weight bearing exercises. walking, dancing, climbing the stairs. I think that has not only helped to build the bone formation, but also for the bone density. Just to move around and also help you to strengthen your muscle. That actually can also be beneficial for you to make sure that your skeleton system, including muscle, joint, and bone, that will be working stronger to help you to for your much more better healthy lifespan.
It's great. So taking the stairs is one little thing you can do. Moving.
Don't take elevator.
Okay. Don't take the elevator.
All right, another habit added to the health span journey. Thank you so much, Charles, for stopping by today and being our expert on bone and joint health.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
And thanks to all of you for listening at home. Please make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube.
And we want to hear from you, so if you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments or reach out to us on the socials. We want to hear what you have to say. Thanks again for being with us. We'll see you next time.